Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 168 of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. As you all know, we are the Paul McCartney talk show dealing with the solo career of our hero, Lord and Savior, Paul McCartney. And, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about the bridges, the middle eights, and what makes them unique in Paul's song. And with that, we've got our musician, our
Our
song
in-house
guy,
talent.
our in-house talent. Yeah, the man that has you know done the music for the show. And before we get to him, I got my partner in crime. We got Andy Nichols. Andy, my friend, what's going on with you?
Not much. Fresh off the heels of recapping our your live show,
Yeah.
which we did last night, which was incredible, and that was just to hear about your experience seeing Paul from the sixth row. You're probably still not recovered from it.
It's no, another week maybe.
Yeah, it'll
but
take another
but
week.
yeah,
Yeah, but it was
it'll
great
take another week.
insight, and the
Yeah,
fan reactions we've done are great, and I'm just
yeah.
biding my time until June 16th when it's my turn.
That's right. You're a month away, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And hopefully, we'll have a first timer, someone that has seen McCartney for the first time for one of these fan reactions here in the future. But other than that, yeah, it's been it was definitely it was a crazy 48 hours, like I said, and I'm definitely glad I did that. It
Yes,
was well worth
we'll
it. It
never
was
let
well
you
worth
live
it.
that down if you didn't do
Yeah,
it.
I know. I hear you. I hear you. But as you can see, we're here with our music man, the man that is. Luckily, I'm really glad I know this guy and that he's given us lend us his talents for the opening and closing theme music for this
The
show.
new the
Dylan's
new theme
the
this year
new,
too. He did a
yeah,
new theme for us that we
right.
rolled out a few months ago, which is awesome.
That's right. Yeah. And thank you for that, Dylan. And Dylan Sevey is here. And we're gonna have a little educational background on, like I said, this middle eight, this bridge business that Paul has been doing now for the last 60 years. And Dylan, it's good to see you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's always good to be back with you guys. I appreciate you calling me the talent. That gives me, I think, a little leeway now. I think my wife is going to love this. I
Right.
think I'm now going to just start coming home and opening the door and saying, the talent has
No,
arrived.
it's right.
And I think she'll be very, very thrilled about that.
She'll be very happy if you can get the head through the door first.
Of course, of course. No, always good to be with you. Very,
Yeah.
very stoked that you got sixth row for Macca. I think
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
I was 10th row once for Petty. And
Mm.
I think I was fourth or fifth row for John Fogerty once, and fourth or fifth row for Jeff Beck once. And those were, when you get to experience like that, when you get to experience, the masters
Right.
like that, I've been that close for a Dylan show or two, and
Mm-hmm.
it's truly everything that's cracked up to be. It kind of
Right.
gives you a new appreciation for everything that's going on stage. So I'm happy
Absolutely.
that you got to experience that, and hopefully Andy can sweet talk his way up there
We're
next
working on
month.
it. We're working on it.
Working on it.
We got the inside scoop on the tickets anyway, so I just let the Jersey
Right.
guys do their thing, and we'll see how it goes.
Perfect.
So what have you been up to, Dylan? Have you been touring or anything like that? Has it been just a laid back last couple of months since you've been on? What have you been up to? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been getting back into the swing of things with the Minx, the group that I've been playing with full time for a couple of years now.
Hmm.
Certainly over the last few months, as things with the pandemic have gotten pretty well under control, that's really continued to open things up even more for us,
Hmm.
which is really, really nice. Haven't done too much full scale touring yet, but we released a song back in January. I don't know what day this episode's going to be released, but if it's coming out after May 27th, we're
Hmm.
releasing our next single then.
Mm.
So yeah, we're rolling out a few things as the year goes on, leading up to a whole album, either at the end of
Oh,
this
cool.
year, early beginning of next year, and we'll definitely be doing more stuff over the summer, weekend runs and week long runs and stuff like that. So
Cool.
always nice to be playing. Didn't really get to do what we love for about a year and a
Right.
half, 2 years. So
Yeah, I hear you. And talk about that process for a minute. You talk about maybe possibly a new album. Is this something that you guys are writing right now? Are you guys recording, jamming? I mean, talk about the process into recording an album.
So we actually wrote a decent amount of it over the uh, first year or so of the pandemic. We kind of stayed in each other's kind of COVID
Hmm.
bubbles. When everyone kind of picked their 5 to 10 people, like these are the only people I will
I'm
see.
gonna be around. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were able to kind of hunker down here and there. They were really basically the only people I did see other than my wife. And we had a few songs written before then, but Nikki, our front woman, she had a good amount already written, demos ready to go. So we kind of picked our favorites, worked on a bunch of stuff, and then whittled it down. We actually got into the studio, I think it was either February or March last year, and we cut,
Mm.
I think, 11 songs here in Nashville at really, really great studio. And then since then we've been back in a few times to cut a few other things. But
Hmm.
it's really a simple, certainly different musicians and different groups do it differently. But for us, Nikki is kind of the designated songwriter front woman. It kind of all starts with her, but she's really good at bringing us what she has, and then we try to arrange it, make it sound as good as possible, and then think, what's going to make, the best sort of cohesive project here, which
Mm.
is, an art in and of itself. And certainly relating that back to Paul, there have been many times throughout his career. You look at Red Rose Speedway, where you end up having a 9-song record, but, something, what,
Hmm.
21 songs recorded overall during those
Right.
sessions. Um, and even songs like, or even albums like London Town, where there ended up being 14 songs, but even then, still
Hmm.
multiple other songs written. And you kind of just, try to figure out what makes the greater overall thing. And in this day and age, we're even in a different time where we're in the age of streaming and Spotify, and God, not even the age of iTunes anymore. Now it's Apple Music.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is more of a premium put on individual songs, which is kind of why before we put the album out, we're putting, different pre-release singles out there to get some interest going and kind of show people what we've been doing. And then by the time it comes out, there will be some songs on there, hopefully, that people recognize, or will get them
Right.
wanting to listen to the whole thing. And
Right.
but it's a great process. I mean, for me as a musician, certainly playing live and seeing people react to your music is a thrill like no other. But it's equally so thrilling to create something that has not previously existed.
Right.
A set of lyrics, or a set of music that has not previously been out there before. And doing that in the studio and figuring out what actual sounds to put to that, what production stylings to apply to all that. It's it's
Hmm.
it's really thrilling. It's something I definitely don't take for granted, being able to do, being surrounded by people who are
Right. Right.
also interested in doing that.
Right. Now, when you say releases, I mean, are we talking streaming only for these singles? Do we hope
CDs.
for physical format for the
Yeah,
album release?
yeah, there will definitely be physical. We put out a song in January called Lavender, where we had a limited edition picture disc,
Mhm.
45 that came out, or 78 that came out. And probably for some of the pre-release singles, we'll be sticking to streaming digital copies.
Mhm.
But by the time there's more of a solid record or EP or anything like that, that will definitely be a physical release. We're talking to some record companies right now about doing an A and B side single, to
Okay.
hopefully get some of that out there for all you vinyl heads.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've got vinyl and CD right now of the record that the band put out in 2019. So
Okay.
everyone listening
Excellent.
should go buy those and give us your money.
Yes.
Is it just aside? Is it costly to produce vinyl? For a small. Is it a big expense?
It is. I mean, it's nothing that, if you're positive that you can sell 50 to 100 copies of something, you make your money back. But It's the whole process, because it's not just the vinyl. You need to think about the artwork and
Sure.
the sleeves and everything like that. It all adds up at some point, but um but at the same time, if you're charging 20-25 bucks for something, it's not that you're making 20 or $25 on it. You're maybe making 5 to $7
5.
on it,
Yeah.
recouping the cost
Right.
of it. Which all adds up. But you certainly need to be smart about it, which is why when you're doing a lot of pre-release stuff these days, it's kind of become more commonplace to say, okay, we'll do digital only for the singles. Not that there isn't interest in, you know, physical releases still for those things, but it kind of just makes more sense, especially if
Right.
it's going to end up on the album anyway. Like for Egypt Station, I don't believe there was a physical release of the I Don't Know, Come On to Me single. I think those were streaming only.
Initially, but then there
No,
was a
the
single. We
record
got
store.
there,
Then we got the
record.
record
There
store they
was,
released.
okay,
There
so I
was,
didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah,
but not
yeah.
not. A, but you're right though. Initially, it was just a streaming
It did,
single. It was much
Right.
later when it came out.
which I think makes sense if it's going to end up on the album. Again, it's not that there isn't an interest. I mean, certainly it can still be cool and look nice in and of itself. But, I know for me, I love physical media. I still buy records whenever I can. But if I know that something's going to be on an album, I'm more likely to say, okay, I'm fine streaming that and then buying the album with the song that I like when it comes
Right.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah,
You know,
it's, sorry, continue.
no, I was just gonna say, it's common practice now because of the demand for vinyl is so high that people are
Hmm.
putting the CD out first, and then the vinyl
Hmm.
will come, a few months later. So I don't know if I'm sure you're probably guys are gonna have to probably experience that as well, unless you want them out at the same time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's funny too because we're all relatively young. I mean, I'm the oldest one in the band at 31 years old. But even then, the four of us in the group, we grew up with physical media. We all grew up
Mm-hmm.
buying to and listening CDs, and I had my dad's record collection, and I started collecting records when I was in my teens.
Right.
Um, and we're all kind of old souls to some degree, but we do have to think very kind of smartly, and we have to think like, okay, what is actually the kind of de facto or smart business decision right now as it applies to the music industry. What is actually happening. If it were up to us, yeah, we would always do huge gatefold records and CDs and everything like that, but we do need to think like, okay, where are we gonna kind of uh where are we going to pay attention to how we're using our resources and whatnot.
Exactly.
Right.
So, which is fine. It's just like I'm 31 and I think like a 71-year-old, when it comes to all that stuff. Which is probably why we're all friends.
Right.
Bingo.
Well, hopefully you come to Arizona when you guys go back out on the road and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So hopefully get to see you live again because that
we
that was a
haven't.
great treat. Getting to see you with Mr. Gallo there a few
Hmm.
years back. You know.
Yeah, minks haven't been out west yet, but we're always looking to get out there, but we'll definitely be up in Andy's neck of the woods at some point and force him to come out, and we'll see if I can get him in a mosh pit like we were able to get you in one. An image forever
Yeah.
burned in my brain.
Yeah.
Is there a photo
Yeah.
of
No.
I don't.
At least it better not be.
Not that he knows it.
that?
Right. Anyways. But thank you for that, Dylan. We look forward to the releases and hearing your new music. Really look
Of
forward
course.
to that. But getting back to today's topic, the bridge, the middle eight, wherever you want to call it. Let's just talk about that term for a minute because it's a term that was just relatively new to me, like maybe a decade or two ago. You just don't remember hearing that term a lot in the song. It's always verse chorus, verse chorus, verse chorus. But when did talk about the history of the bridge, if you can, a little bit about that.
Yeah, so kind of like you said, when you're discussing the form of a song, the two phrases that you hear most are verse and
Yeah.
chorus. The
Right.
verse serves to either tell the story of the song or kind of expound on the song's message or themes, and
Hmm.
the chorus is the repeated phrase that should be the song's most memorable hook or aspect. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. For instance, sometimes you'll get a song like Hey Jude, or like The Times They Are Changin' by Bob Dylan, where there's not necessarily a chorus, but the end of each verse plays the role of the chorus. So The Times They Are Changin' is just a bunch of different verses, but the end of each one, but the
Right.
loser now, maybe later to win, for the times they are changing. And it's better start singing, you sink like a stone, for the times they are, so on and so forth. There's also 1,000 exceptions to the rule, especially when you look at songs like Happiness is a Warm Gun, or the Hunt You Down medley from Egypt Station, or even something like Aqualung by Jethro Tull, these multi-part songs where you kind of just look at the different sections rather than what's considered a verse or a chorus or anything else. But in the construct of a standard pop song, you can expect there to either be a verse and chorus or a phrase at the end of the verses that essentially acts as a chorus. So the middle eight, also commonly known, like you said, as a bridge, serves as a respite from the form that's been established up to that point in the song. So generally you'll hear it, again, with so many exceptions, after like the second chorus or the second repeating motif. So A Hard Day's Night, for example, you get the first two choruses, they both end in a phrase that acts as the chorus. So when I get home to you, find the things that you do, so while I mention alone, when I get you alone. So after that second verse, you get the famous "When I'm home, everything seems to be right," that chorus, before returning to the next verse. That is the bridge, or the middle eight. So the term middle eight relates to the number of bars in a song, which is dictated by the song's time signature. So most pop songs you hear tend to be in 4/4 time. So that's 4/4, 4/4. Also sometimes called standard time or common time. This means that each bar of the song has 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, which is why I Saw Her Standing There starts with 1, 2, 3, 4. Middle eight became a common phrase because most bridges took up 8 bars of a song, like Hard Day's Night. When I'm home, 2, 3, 4, everything seems to be right. 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. When I'm home, feel you holding me tight, tight, yeah. That's 8 before you return.
Okay.
So a lot of musicians call them bridges because there's no rule. I mean, there's no rules in songwriting anyway, but there's no rule saying that it has to be 8 bars. And in fact, quite a few songs have bridges that are either shorter or longer than 8 bars. Funnily enough, there's so many interviews with the Beatles that talk about the middle eight of We Can Work It Out, which is not only longer than 8 bars, but it also mixes time signatures, so it becomes a major gray area anyway. But that's where the term comes from, and that's what the bridge is, something that sets it apart kind of from the more standard parts of the song. You think of the verses, the choruses. And it should be said, there's many songs that don't have a bridge or middle eight. They might just utilize a guitar solo over the verse or chord progressions from the chorus, like Junior's Farm, for example. There's the chorus after, or the solo after the first chorus, and then it returns to the intro after the second chorus. It's not a requirement at all. It's just one of the many options available in the art of songwriting and
songwriting. I mean, there's a lot of Beatles songs, a lot of McCartney songs that don't have a middle eight or a bridge, and I mean that's fine. Like you said, maybe there might be a solo there instead. But you're talking about, these are generally placed maybe on the second half or towards the end of the song, though, right? You would say?
Or it could be
generally,
earlier, right?
Generally, it's the middle eight, so the middle of the song. Where that's where the middle part of it comes from.
Or bridging the first part,
the first 2 parts, right?
Yep. And many times there's multiple bridges, like the bridge in A Hard Day's Night repeats itself. But yeah, it's just term middle eight. But again, you get other songs like Here, There, and Everywhere, for instance. The intro to that song literally only happens once. And Paul writes so many songs where there's an established verse, established chorus, maybe even established bridge, but then he just throws one other thing in where you're like, where the hell did that come from? I mean, even a song like Deep, Deep Feeling, is there a chorus to Deep, Deep Feeling? Is there a bridge to it? Or is it just multiple different sections? So, but if we're thinking about a standard established bridge, generally the middle, maybe 2/3 of the way through the song. Like a song like Refugee by Tom Petty, you get two verses, two choruses. Then you get "Baby, we ain't the first. I'm sure a lot of the love has been burned." That section leads into a solo, leads into the last verse and chorus. So yeah, there's no rules, but the middle in middle 8 stands for middle of the song.
Right. Gotcha. And it's something that you like to, I mean, do you practice middle 8s? I mean, do you try to get them in songs as much as possible if it's needed?
Yeah, certainly when it feels right. I mean, I feel like much like so many things we've talked about on this channel before, when we talk about songs, I feel like any aspect of a song, be that its length or an instrument choice or like, it should only ever be, I think, what it's supposed to be. There are lots of songs that don't have a solo, lots of songs that don't have a bridge, lots of songs that don't even have a chorus. I mean, so many Dylan songs that's just verse after verse after verse, because that's all it needs to be. But certainly,
Murder Most Foul.
Murder Most Foul, Positively 4th Street, so many of them. Yeah, when I'm writing, I think, if I have a verse and a chorus I'm really happy with, but I feel like something different needs to happen, I'll absolutely try to find it. There's a great quote. I forget who said it, but basically saying if you're writing a bridge or you're writing a middle 8, if you can't make it as good as the verse and the chorus, then you shouldn't do it. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I do agree with the concept of, like, if you're going to do it, make sure it's good. I mean, because occasionally there will be certain Paul songs or certain songs where you hear a bridge and you're like, well, that didn't really add anything to the song. It just sort of came out of nowhere and was nothing.
Do you think, Dylan, there was a particular period for Paul where he was really hot with the middle 8s in his solo career, or not, or hard to gauge?
It is hard to gauge. I mean, I'll be honest. We're all going to go through some of our favorite Paul middle 8s here in a minute. In preparing for that, I didn't look through every song in his catalog album by album, but I certainly think that maybe in the early part of his career, I mean, by the time he was beginning his solo career, he had already advanced so far as a songwriter, because the Beatles had advanced so much as songwriters and musicians throughout their career. So, by the time they started their solo careers, I mean, you can make an argument, as good as, so many of the solo records are, you could make an argument that between, the three main songwriters, John, Paul, and George, that they only innovated so much after the Beatles. I think that all three of them did in different ways, but certainly not as much as they did while they were all together. But, Paul, I mean, Ram is his second record. And on a lot of people's second records, they're not writing multi-part songs like "Backseat of My Car" or "Uncle Albert." But probably in the first part of his career, I can think of quite a few songs off the top of my head where he was still kind of sticking to that. But I mean, one of my examples here for my favorite middle 8s is from McCartney 3. So he's certainly, it's still something that he goes back to, because I mean, we have these tried and true formulas for a reason, because they work and they're effective.
Yeah, I mean, I've got picks from throughout his entire career.
Yep.
What other acts out there besides Paul and John and George do you think have mastered the middle 8? I mean, there might be fans out there of other musicians. What are there any other acts out there that you've noticed have also kind of mastered that?
I mean, I've talked about him a few times on this channel. It's no secret my love for Tom Petty, but I mean, I think he in particular, I mean, I just referenced the one from Refugee. You can go back to Listen to Her Heart. You just can't creep up behind her. That man, Don't Do Me Like That, because somewhere deep down inside, someone is saying love. So, I mean, so many I can think of, especially in his early to mid catalog. The Waiting. Has another one too. I think Elton John certainly has his fair share of great bridges. Maybe not as many, because certainly the relationship between him and Bernie Taupin is different than most other songwriters who write the music and the lyrics, whereas Elton was just writing the music. He was writing. So,
Mhm.
but certainly Elton has a few I could think of off the top of my head. Brian Wilson, Beach Boys certainly have so many.
Right.
But I mean, even Bob Dylan. I mean, if not for you, my sky would fall. I mean, all-time
Right.
bridge,
Yeah.
of any
Mhm.
song right there. I think you can look at any of the major songwriters and point them out. For me, Petty is one of the ones that I immediately think of, especially because I think Tom Petty, just thinking of melody, is one of the all-time great melodic writers. So his bridges tend to have a melody that really, really sticks with you.
Mhm.
So I'd go for him. He would
Cool.
be way, way, way up
Right.
there.
Interesting. All right.
What about
Well,
you, Tom?
Well, you know, you did mention some good ones in there. Petty. I think probably Costello's got some good ones in
Mhm.
there too. Definitely, Elton. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff out there, artists out there that concentrate on that kind of thing. But like you said, sometimes it's not needed, and
Mhm.
but there's definitely been some memorable ones out there. I mean, I'm not gonna, my girl Olivia is not known for her middle eights, but
We know
but
you love
Andy,
your
you were
girl
gonna say
Olivia.
something?
No,
Yeah.
just listening.
Oh, okay. But yeah, middle eights are fun little ditty. I mean, because it just takes you in a completely different direction sometimes, right? I mean, if it's
Mhm.
done right, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the song. I sometimes I think of the pound is sinking. Where
Yep.
feel
That was
my
on my
dear that
list.
it's absolutely clear.
Yep.
I mean, it's really. I mean, what is that saying about the first part of the song? Not really, much, but
Now,
yeah.
And that's
I'm gonna.
another one too, where it's like, do you consider that the bridge, or do you consider
Right,
the "Oh Lover" part
right,
Yeah,
the
that
yeah.
bridge?
because it's two
Hear me, O
songs.
lover.
Because it's
Right,
too, that could
Yeah.
be a bridge because it's two songs.
right.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna jump in and just throw probably, and I hope it's probably on both of your guys' lists. I'm sure it is. For me, I'm just gonna say this is the best McCartney bridge for me, bar none.
Mm,
In years to come, there will be, from Tug of War.
That's
That's
mm.
we were just talking before we came on. I said I didn't rank mine, but if I had to pick a
if
number
I
one,
had, I didn't rank mine, but if I'm gonna rank one, that's the number one. In years to come, they may discover with the air we breathe.
I
from Tug
mean,
of
Mm.
War.
it's
That's
not
it.
only a great bridge. I mean, I think it's the best part of the song. I mean,
Yeah.
and the rest of the song is totally fine. I'm kind of with Tom. I'm not huge on the pushing and pulling background vocals,
Right.
but I mean, but it perfectly great verses and choruses and the melody. But
And the guitar,
that
electric
aspect of
guitar,
Yeah.
bang,
oh my
right
god,
into
when
it.
that comes in and Paul's voice is so sublime, and then too, I don't know if it's ever been confirmed that he's talking about John, but it's nice to interpret it that
Sure.
way. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have a clear cut number one, but
You
that's
can't.
probably number one.
But it's gotta be. I mean, that to me just
It's the
sings
best
like
part of the song.
bar none. Totally agree with you, brother.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and the cool thing about a lot of Paul's bridges is they can be so small and simple, but then extended as well. Like I'm gonna, like we'll talk about here, in a
Well,
minute.
the other
But
thing is too, they don't even need to be lyrical. Like I kind of
right,
view 1985, that doom doo 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 doom doo
right.
doo,
That's a
that
bridge.
instrumental section is a bridge in and of
Hmm.
itself.
Big
Um,
organ. Yeah.
and
Right.
it again,
Interesting.
like that song would still be good without it, but I think it makes the song better to have that. It
Mhm.
brings it in new dynamic directions, which is a note that I have here on quite a few quite a few of the bridges I want to talk about, is how it adds to the dynamic of the song.
Mhm. Gotcha. All right. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about some of our favorites here. And again, we're not going to rank these. We're just going to talk,
Except for Tug
in
of War.
general. But Dylan, I mean, you've got 10, so I've got 8. Andy, I think you've got a few too.
5.
So Dylan, why don't we start with you since you've got the most written down? Why don't you
Yeah, well,
just bang out one or two, and then I'll chime in with one.
yeah, just going chronologically. First one I had written down was "Eat at Home." Bring the love that you feel for me into line
Right.
with the love I see. Yeah,
Right.
the melody of this section is great, and it's nice because the verses kind of have this pulsing, sort of rockier feel. Bridge brings it down a little bit to create a dynamic and make it even more melodic than it was. And I love Linda's vocal re-entering on "In the morning you bring to me," her sitting right there.
Buddy Holly,
yeah,
all the Buddy Holly stuff there.
Right. Great bridge and a great song about a great topic. And and then I also have Baby's Request. My baby said she know how it goes, but you're the one who really knows. Another top-notch melody there, and that bridge particularly I think hits hard due to the strength of Linda and Denny's harmonies coming in at that part. I like the verses in that song fine enough, but the bridge of Baby's Request kind of elevates it to another level for me.
Yeah, good point with Denny and Linda in there with that bridge. Yeah, I really like that a lot. Now that you mention that, the first one I got here is there's actually two in this song, and that's Rock Show, and that's the first one being lights go down, they're back in town. Okay, behind the sax you glimpse an axe, tension mounts, you score an ounce Olay, temperatures rise as you see the white of their eyes. That one, and then maybe one of my favorites is my green metal suit. I'm preparing to shoot up the city, and the ring on my end of my nose makes me look rather pretty. It's a pity there's no one here to witness the end, save for my dear old friend and confidant, Mademoiselle Kitty. But then also another one of my favorites is just so simple. As in, love doesn't come in a minute. Sometimes it doesn't come at all. I only know that when I'm in it. He can make it. Very wordy, like the Rock Show one, or he can just make it so simple, like silly love songs. Which is testament to his talent. So, but Andy,
I got an early one. One of Tom's favorites. Some people never know. Some people can sleep at nighttime, believing that love never lies. I'm only a person that I think that works really well on that track. Because it is a longer one. So, but I love that bridge of that song, because it just totally does a little bit of a left turn, and it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah, and I like that he revisits that, another time in the song too.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you got a 6-minute song, obviously you're gonna, yeah. But Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah. We already talked about Tug of War, so I'll notch that one out. That's the honorable mention number one. But I got to go with one of my top 20 McCartney songs. This one. What opportunities did we allow to flow by? Feeling like the time wasn't quite right. There's and going back to that quote about if you can't write a bridge, it's as good as the verse, and the chorus shouldn't do it. I think the verses and choruses of this one are so fantastic that it would be really hard to write a bridge as good. But I think this section comes pretty close. It's another really good melody, and it ties in well thematically with the rest of the song. And when you listen to the demo that's usually included with the Return to Pepperland set, you can kind of hear that he was initially planning on this, being kind of like a verse or repeated section, but I think he made the right call in reworking it as just the bridge, because I think it's really solid, and I love the way
it opens up in that demo. It just opens up with what opportunities.
Yeah, and it kind of feels, I've never liked how that felt. I like it starting with the strong verse, then having this open up in the middle of the song, having it build up at the end of it to go into that last verse where it comes back down again, him on the higher vocal. So that's a really solid one for me. And then also one of the first one that I thought of immediately when we thought about this topic was Friends to Go. You never need to worry about me. I'll be fine on my own. I love this song in general. It's top 3 song on Chaos and Creation for me. And I just think this bridge is top notch McCartney. His quote about this song being inspired by George, I think has kind of been a bit overblown, but this section I think lends a bit of credence to it. I can hear some Harrison-esque flair to it. That I think those lyrics especially are kind of that sardonic, leave me alone George style.
Don't bother me.
And especially the way that the chords build around it too. I can hear those being kind of Harrison-esque.
Yeah, when I think of that, I when he says that, I think of I usually think he means musically more than lyrically. I don't know. What do you think about that, Dylan?
I can hear, yeah, because the chord progression in that song it's not super, out of left field, but it's definitely, I don't want to get too technical, but he does use a lot of uncommon chords relative to the key signature of the song. He goes to the minor 5 in the verses, which is not very common at all. Usually you always go to the major 5 chord. And I think George was the absolute king of unique chord progressions. So I could definitely hear it relating to that aspect of the song for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll do a couple more here. Again, it's just very wordy, middle 8. And for early days, may sweet memories of friends from the past always come to you when you look for them, and your inspirations long may it last. May it come to you time and time again. Again, just he's able to do these, all throughout his career, and a lot of times they're very meaningful too. It's just not a goofy little throwaway lyric. I mean, it's sometimes they're really meaningful like this. And then I'll go back to the simple. Take it away. You never know. No, you never know who may be listening to you. It's just,
do you like that song,
so a little bit.
He might just like it, Dylan. I don't know. Does he like that one? I think
it's tough to tell. It's tough to tell.
Yeah. So yeah, but go ahead, Andy.
I got one, and Tom, I know it's probably on your list. If it's not, I'm sure it will be. And I won't go away till you tell me to. No, I'll never go away.
It's on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, from No More Lonely Nights. It's that's up there. Perfect. It totally like it's the 80s production that's all over it, but I absolutely love his vocal on it. It totally just shifts the mood of the song. And I won't go away until you tell me so. No, I'll never go away. That kind of foreboding feeling, melancholy, all going on in that song, and that bridge kind of conveys that feeling for me.
Right.
A little bit.
Yeah. And you good point too, because Dylan, maybe you can elaborate on this, because usually when it gets to the middle 8, it's definitely totally just like a different chord production. I mean, just totally different. I know you might have talked about this a little bit already, but I mean, I just like how it just goes in a completely different direction musically as well. A lot of times for these middle 8s.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it serves to break off essentially from the rest of the song. And 999 times out of 1,000, that means a different chord progression and melody. Maybe every now and then you'll get the same chord progression, but a different. I mean, Paul certainly does that all the time. You think of, songs like Silly Love Songs or Wanderlust, where he does write all these counter melodies over the same chord progression so they can sort of come back in. But I mean, you could make an argument that Wanderlust could belong on this list. The "Oh, where did I go wrong, my love," as being a bridge. So, but yeah, definitely, like in Hard Day's Night, again, I think that's such an easy example to go back to, because totally different chord progression, totally different melody. And that one also in particular stands out because it switches from John being on the lead vocal to Paul. One that I had written down was also from the new album. I had Alligator written down. Could you be that person for me? Because that's another example of him using the bridge to enhance the song's dynamic structure. The rest of that song is very intense, is moving along very urgently. And then that section sees him shift to a softer falsetto. The rest of the instruments, or most of the instruments, drop out. It's really, really effective, and it makes the song hit even harder than it did before. And I think in the case of No More Lonely Nights, that bridge leads right back into a verse. And, the verses of that song are somewhat delicate. There's an urgency to the bridge of that song, the way he's singing, and I won't go away till you tell me so. So for that to lead back in, it kind of feels like you're coming back down. It's almost like if the chorus is here and the verse is here, it's almost like it's putting you on a nice little slide back down into the verse.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is created, certainly by, the musical dynamics, but also the changing chord progression, the changing melody.
Okay.
So another one, again, I have a bunch written down here, but
go for it.
One that I want to give one that I want to give a shout out to, because I feel like this song doesn't get a lot of love. I can't remember exactly where you guys stand on it, but You Tell Me from Memory Almost Full. The "Were we there? Is it true? Was I really there with you?" I love the quality of his voice on this song, because there's a very slight frailness and delicacy to it, but he's also still so in control of it, and to me it heightens the poeticism of the lyrics. It's kind of similar to what he does at the beginning of Don't Be Careless Love, except it's a billion times better, and the song is way better. And it doesn't devolve into this awful adult contemporary terribleness. But he's right at the tip top of his range, and you hear him straining, but he never lets it get away from him. And with this bridge, the guitar walks down to this nice deep minor chord, but his vocal lifts the melody up. Were we there? Is it true? I think that's I just think that's really fantastic, and it flows together really, really well. And having the guys add in the backing vocals along to it is also really nice. And
no, yeah, I'll bring one in. One of my favorite, McCartney, George Martin collaborations, "Beautiful Night." Things can go wrong, things can go right, things can go bump in the dead of the night, and I just feel like that orchestration just works so well, with that, with things could go wrong, and just the way that orchestration flows in with that middle eight, just beautiful work from George as well. Because I really feel like you said that's a big key too. Is like you talked about the chord changes.
Well, I completely agree, and I think certainly the orchestra enters before that point in the song, but I think at that point you realize exactly how powerful they are. Hearing those kind of stabs in between, let me hear it, boom. It's like, okay, we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So another favorite. But Andy.
I'm gonna go with the I don't think it's one of Tom's favorites, but "Pipes of Peace." What do you say? The kind of core, the kids, the call and response. What do you say? What do you say? Will the human race be run in a day, or will someone save this planet we're playing on? It's a little wordy, but is it the only one? What are we gonna do? Boom! I love that. I absolutely.
I think it's a great bridge. Yeah.
I think it's a great
bridge. Good. Yeah. No, very good. Very good. Yeah. I've got one here that this is totally out of left field, and this is my favorite part of the song is the bridge on that. And it's when she comes home, it's a yappa yap yap. Words are running freely like a water from a tap. Her brothers and her sisters can't get a word in edgeways, but when she's back in school again, she goes back into her days.
I love that song. I don't know. I think that song.
Don't say a word. Don't say
it's so
word.
Creepy. I love it.
It's so
creepy. It is kind of creepy, especially during that bridge. Again, it's a good song, but that's my favorite part of it. But because people shit on Driving Rain so much that I think it kind of goes under the radar.
Well, I'll throw two more out there. Both on completely opposite ends of the spectrum,
right?
And kind of staying in the weird experimental McCartney. Another one of my top 20 McCartney songs, "Temporary Secretary" from McCartney 2.
Oh boy, here we go.
She can be a belly dancer, I don't need a tromancer. She
can be a
diplomat.
If I don't need to go like that. Yeah.
True to the rest of the song, it's delightfully weird. And what it does from a musical standpoint is it's just going up on a chromatic scale, which means that it's going up exactly one half step or one note from the last one. So it's very it's very unsettling. It's really cool,
right?
And I love it. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I don't know if this is on Andy's list, but I know it's one of his favorites. I think the bridge in "Seize the Day" is fantastic. I bless the day that you came into my life, and I could finally roll back the blind. Just great writing overall. You helped me to realize that love was the greatest prize. I only had to open my eyes. It's hard for me to not think that it's not about Linda, but it's also very possible he wrote it for Nancy.
Sure.
Either way, I love the lyrics, and I love that the melody and the chord progression, especially at the beginning of the bridge, kind of break away. There's a steady pace present in the rest of the song, and for just a second when that bridge starts, there's kind of this like uncertainty about it that's really exciting. I bless the day when you came into my life, and it's kind of like this swirling sort of thing before it comes back down. Really, really effective stuff. And so that's
good choice.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
I have a technical question for Dylan regarding one of the songs, probably that I think we'll talk about at some point. And just jump into it now, because it's so big and there's so much going on in it. Does it have more than one bridge in it? I don't know if it does. And the song in question is Uncle Albert. Now, is the bridge in that song "Live a Little Gypsy"? Get around. Is that the bridge? Or is there other, or what's the bridge in that song?
Well, I mean, I think if you're thinking of it strictly as the Admiral Halsey section of the song,
right?
Yes, because I would say that the chorus is "Hands Across the Water," and I would say the verse is the Admiral Halsey notified me,
right?
Or the
butter pie.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of a verse, but you have the whole Uncle Albert section to the song too. So yeah, it's when you think of it as a whole, it's kind of hard to say. But in terms of that, like even a song like "Band on the Run," clearly the chorus is "Band on the Run, Band on the Run." But for that, because you also have the "If we ever get out of here" and the "Stuck inside these four walls" parts, So it's it's I don't think there's a technical yes or no. I think it's all in the eye of the beholder. If you view it as that part of the song, I think
because there's so much going on in that song. It's like how do you identify if that's what it is or not? But I just wanted to run that past the expert.
Absolutely. Was that one of the ones you had? Oh, let's chill on the expert term. You guys have anything else left on your lists?
Well, definitely and I won't go away until you tell me so bit. I mean, it's beautiful and so simple. But for our queen, Kid O'Toole, I know her, one of her least favorites. Well, there she were, and to my despair, she's a 5-star criminal, breaking the law, breaking the code.
So good.
Yeah, McNeil said, "Now the time has come to gather our forces and run." Oh no, so that whole bit, and then it occurred to me, you couldn't be bad. Magneto was mad. Titanium too. And the Crimson Dynamo just couldn't cut it no more. You would love. It's just so funny how so wordy they can be, and just how so short they can be. With Paul.
Hey, kid, if you're watching this episode and my hotel room is next to yours in Chicago for the fest, I'm gonna blast that song when you go to bed at night.
Fantastic.
Just kidding.
Andy, did you have any more?
No, but I wanted to kind of take it into the direction of, do you guys know of, or the top of your head, some bad middle hates, or or ones that come off the top of your head that you're like, God, this just doesn't work. One that I could think of would be the one from "I've Had Enough," baby. Sometimes that whole bit. I think that one's like just trash. You get a little,
right.
One that I can think of off the top of my head, and Andy, I know you've taken a lot of grief for liking this song, so I hate to pile on you again, but I think the bridge in "People Want Peace" is pretty lousy. The "nothing in life is as sad as the lonely, so searching for peace only to find it." It's just sort of like, okay, yeah, dude, like we get it. Like he's not expounding on the theme anymore. It's not anything different. I don't think it's melodically very interesting. I don't hate that song. There's elements of that song that I like, but I don't think it's a great song, and I think the bridge is pretty lousy. So sorry.
No problem.
And I like
not off the top of my head. Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of weak, but
How about McCartney songs that are really good that don't have bridges?
Oh well, I mean that's a lot,
Junior's
isn't it?
Farm.
Yeah.
Well, just off the top of your head.
Yeah. Yeah, Junior's Farm right off the bat. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't have a bridge. That's listen to what the man says doesn't have a bridge, and I think
No,
that's
that doesn't have
yeah,
one.
you know.
Well, I was gonna say Too Many People, but I think you can make an argument that the guitar solo in that song also functions as a bridge because it changes. The chords change during that. Like I said earlier, sometimes there's no bridge, there's just a solo. But if you have a solo over a different chord progression, it could act as the same thing.
It was song like Jet.
Later,
yeah,
maybe
I view that as a bridge.
Okay.
Backseat of My Car, I don't think has a. Yeah, I don't think Backseat of My Car either. I mean, not a traditional kind of middle eight, if you will.
Yeah, that's another one where it's kind of all over the place, so it's hard to say.
Right.
But yeah, Mamunia doesn't have a bridge, and I really like Mamunia a lot. Does Tom not like Mamunia?
Look at the time.
No,
I think
he does not. I do.
That hour's about up, isn't it?
Well, Mrs. Vanderbilt, does that have a bridge? Would you consider Leave Me Alone, Mrs. Vanderbilt to be a bridge, or would you consider that the chorus?
Maybe.
I would say the Leave Me Alone, Mrs. Washington might be the bridge. Maybe. No? Or no, that's just maybe another I don't know. Tough one.
Helen Wheels. Trying to think here.
Helen Wheels does not have a bridge, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I mean,
right.
It's just curious to just go through your head,
Off the Ground, song Off the Ground doesn't have a bridge.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. One of the books, actually, I got a glance just upon kind of to prepare for this, is a really good book I'm going to recommend. If you guys don't have it, pick it up. It's called The Words and Music of Paul McCartney by Vincent Benitez.
Right.
Really written from a musician's perspective, breaks down the bridge, verse, chorus structured, A, B, how the songs are A, B, A, B, A, C. All that's broken down. Really, really good book. And worth picking up.
Yeah, shoot me the name of the author on that, because I'd love to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's a Prager singer-songwriter collection. So it's an academic book, but it's really good. And Dylan, I think you'd really appreciate it.
Great. Awesome.
Cool. Excellent. Well, this was great. In the comment section, guys, write down some of your favorite bridges in your favorite McCartney songs, and we'll hit that like, and we'll check those out. If there's something that we missed that you thought was an exceptional bridge in McCartney's solo career, put it down in the comments, and good chance we'll probably agree with you, because I'm sure we're forgetting a bunch of them.
Ton.
Yeah. I mean, these just happen to be some of our favorites right now that we've just put on our list. I mean, as we do with these lists, we write them down, and then a month from now it'll be a completely different list. But Dylan, anything else you got going on that you want to plug besides the Minx, or are you working on anything else, or are you just chilling?
Oh, I'm just working. I've also been working with a booking agency recently, helping other groups book shows. So I've been busy doing that, busy plugging away at my book, and busy, keeping myself busy, because if I sit too still for too long, then I get way too anxious. But then I also overwork myself, and I get really anxious there. So it's
you said something about a book. You said something about a book.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked. No, I think I let the cat out of the bag on the.
Is it time? Is it time? Yeah. Can we talk about this for a minute?
I think we have talked about it on the channel before, but
I don't think we have.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I have been working for the last 2 years on a book wherein I do a ranking of all 69 solo Beatles records, the solo catalogs of John, Paul, George, and Ringo. And the reason that I decided to do it, especially in an objective way, in terms, because ranking is a subjective exercise, is because I feel like it's one way to get somebody actually interested in something. I think there's quite a few people out there who either aren't interested or don't know much about the solo catalogs in general, or they just know the classic, All Things Must Pass, Band on the Run,
Band on the Run, Imagine.
But also because I'm very fascinated by really the concept of opinions in general. I think that opinions in some way are extremely useless, but also extremely useful. For instance, I think for all of us as fans of music and art in general, it's very useful for us to take the time to, spend time with something and think about something and study something, and even looking into what other people think, so we can better understand what it is we might like about something or what we feel about something. It helps you learn a little something about yourself. And I also think in general, it just helps, to be able to, extrapolate on why you feel the way you do. But at the same time, all three of us have numerous albums and songs and artists that we disagree on, but it doesn't matter what I feel. If I love something that Andy doesn't like, or, hates something that Tom loves, that shouldn't affect how any of us feel about it. We should be comfortable enough in our own feelings and opinions to, be able to stand on that. But I also think it also helps to be challenged. If someone comes at you and says they like something you don't, or they don't like something you do, it can help you look at something in a different way. And again, either, make you realize exactly why you do love something, or just, challenge you otherwise. I think it helps to be as emotionally intelligent as possible. So I've been working on that, and it's nowhere near done. I'm hoping I'll have it finished, by the time I'm 60 years old, but I'm plugging away
Is
it.
Is a book like this? Let me ask you one thing. Is a book like that you're working on, is that better left for when all of when Paul and Ringo's career is said and done?
I mean, potentially, because I started working on it before Ringo had released What's My Name, and before Paul had released McCartney 3. It's like, all right, well, I need to keep adding on. So it's very possible. I mean, if Ringo stays true to his word, there won't be any more full-length albums from him. So it's very possible that he's good there. But yeah, with Paul, we don't know. So, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I'm even thinking about being finished anyway. I mean, certainly I hope we have many years left of both of them, but if we're calling a spade, it's they have less time left than has already passed. So
correct.
So you're not going to count the Ringo EP, the recent Ringo EPs in this book, then?
No, I'm counting basically what is the accepted discographies of all four of them, which, for Paul, the Wings catalog is considered canon for him, whereas the classical work and the Fireman is considered a separate thing. So there won't be any Electric Arguments, there won't be Liverpool Oratorio. However, with John, the 3 experimental albums are considered a part of canon, so those are a part of it. With George, Wonderwall, Music, Electronic Sound. And so, yeah, it ends up being 69 LOL, because I think John has 11, including those. George has 12, and then Paul's got 25 or 26, and Ringo's got 20. So yeah, no EPs, no Traveling Wilburys, but
Russian album included.
Yep, Russian album is considered canon, so that's in there. Yeah, Russian album, Give My Regards to Broad Street is considered canon, and then Run Devil Run, Kisses, those are considered. But yeah, no, for Ringo, there won't be the Scouse the Mouse soundtrack is not considered canon for his discography. But also no compilations, no live albums, so no
live albums.
Okay. No Shaved Fish. Just the full-length studio.
Understood.
Canon album.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, we look forward to that 30 years from now. I'm sure Lewison may have part 2 of the Tune In book out before that happens.
We'll probably be able to deliver them to you in your nursing home together by the time they're both done.
Very
Easy
good.
there, 31-year-old.
Yeah. Anyways, but Andy, you got the new channel up and running. You just had the Dylan, part 1 and 2 of the Dylan show, and I think you're gonna have
which we need to talk about, by the way.
Yeah, there's a
I
guy
think
that
you're
needs
gonna
to be
have
there.
some other individual on there, right?
Yeah, some other individual with the namesake who's going to be there for part 3 of my chat on Bob Dylan.
We'll take that combo off air, but yes,
we will. But yeah, the Andy's Music Vault, I launched it about a month ago, and I've done 2 separate installments. I did my first episode on Procol Harum, and I did a 2-part, which of 3 on Bob Dylan, once with myself, and then a second one with a very good friend of mine, Bob Davison, who has seen Dylan over 50 times in concert, and is just he saw him on the first tour he saw them on was a Street Legal tour, and Bob and I spoke for an hour, and he was there for the 30th anniversary show at the Garden in '92. So he had a lot of great things to talk about in our conversation, and looking forward to continuing with part 3 with Mr. Sevey. So stay tuned for that, and much more to come on that channel.
Great, very cool. So for the 2 legs, thank you very much, everybody, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. As you all know, we've surpassed our 1,000 subscriber goal, and again, congratulations to Tim Allen for winning that contest. I hope
Tim Allen.
The Tim Allen, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Tool time with no, don't say that. He won't like that too much. But please keep subscribing if you liked what you see on that show. Andy, real quick, I mean, you could talk about the new thing that's on our YouTube channel, the Super Thanks.
Super Thanks. We are now Super Thanks eligible, and I want to give a thank you to Beans last night when we went live to kind of recap Tom's Macca show experience. Beans kind of graciously gave us something. So yeah, we're Super Thanks eligible now, which is pretty cool for us. We're monetized. So I know some people have said, well, you've got ads in your videos now. But we do. And if you wait 5 seconds, you can press the skip button. It goes away. So we're Super Thanks eligible. The channel has grown. The content is growing in terms of what we do and what we talk about. And kind of doing these other kind of one-off shoot series like the fan reactions, and so the Super Thanks eligible. So yeah, thank you to those that have contributed to that. And
I would just like to say really quickly, if for anyone out there who may complain about the ads or anything like that, to a degree as a consumer, I understand, but you also have no idea the hard work and the time that these guys put into making this show happen. And I work in an industry and a field where I and so many other musicians, basically every musician ever, has been severely undervalued for the amount of work and time that we put into our craft and the things that people expect us to do for little to no money. So yeah, any problems that anyone has with these guys, making profit or monetizing for the thing that they've worked so hard on, you can very, very politely not mention it.
Thank you.
Because your opinion is not needed, frankly.
Oh, well, anyways, but thank you. But anyways, yeah, so listen, the commercials are there, the ads are there. To make a couple cents, per episode would be nice, from time to time. It's not like I'm asking you guys, for Patreon or anything like that.
We don't do that.
Yeah, right.
Not yet.
So, yeah, not yet. Anyways, but yeah, again, when we're live and you guys do the comments, you'll see the $sign. Right next to where you guys would make the comments. And if you feel like supporting us, please, any donation would be nice. And you can also do that for our regular shows too. There's a way you guys can donate during our regular shows. So again, thank you very much. You can reach us at on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at 2 Legs Podcast. You can email us at 2legspodcast@gmail.com if you have an idea for a show. For a future show, I'd love to hear it, and you never know, maybe it'll be a topic on a future show. Maybe Mr. Sevey here will join us for that future show. You never know. We'll have to get a haircut first. I think it's getting a little long there, but no, just kidding. But anyways, as always, everybody out there, we really appreciate you guys taking the time and listening to this little show about our favorite musician. the one and only Mr. McCartney. So everybody out there, Andy, thank you as always for everything you do. Dylan, it's good to see you and talk to you. And from what you said, it sounds like you've already got the next theme song ready to go for us. So I appreciate
I've heard it.
that.
It's really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Dylan?
Don't take it personally. I just like Andy better than you.
Well,
so
yeah,
you don't have
an
iPhone. You don't have an iPhone, dude. So you're out.
That's fine. I can be surprised when it happens. But everybody out there, as always, have a great day and a beautiful night. It's good seeing you guys again. Take care, and we'll be back soon.
Listening to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols, with musical contributions by Dylan